Warning: the following podcast contains graphic content that may be disturbing or triggering to some listeners. Discretion is advised. The papatangosierradelta podcast is available free of charge thanks to the support of Cracked Armor.
Their mission is to raise awareness for PTSD, TBI, and mental health to support those who struggle. By creating an army of warriors who represent the gear, their hope is that it will send a message to others that they are not alone.
Go to crackedarmor.com. Say hi to Mark Long, read about the story, and find some research information about PTSD. And if you can, look good while supporting Cracked Armor by buying some gear.
(10-9). Did you say Papa Tango Sierra Delta? 10-4.
There's so much left to do, so many things I wanna say, and I say, don't make the change. If it rains every single day, I'll fight to blow it all away.
This is episode 14 of the Papa Tango Sierra Delta podcast. My name is Larry Payton, and I have been diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress. Before we get into the second half and final part of my conversation with Patrick Gordon, retired Canadian Armed Forces veteran who did 3 tours in Afghanistan with the Armoured Division, on this episode, Patrick is going to share life after Afghanistan. He's going to talk about his diagnosis with some serious physical health issues, PTSD, and Operation Feed St. John, which he briefed about during the last part of the previous episode. Before we get started on that, I do want to say a couple of quick things, and I'm not going to take long today. I just want to remind you that bad things happen, and not everything in life is a learning opportunity. It's not like something bad happens and you can do better to prevent everything bad. You can't do something to prevent everything bad. I personally am struggling the fuck with this concept. It's tough for me. I have serious issues actually accepting that bad things can happen and there's not a goddamn thing I can do about it. It's logical, but it's tough for me to wrap my brain around it. The biggest takeaway for me is not everything in life is a learning opportunity. Don't look at everything bad as a learning opportunity. Sometimes some fucked up things happen. That's horrible. It's brutal. But there was nothing you can do about it, and there's not a goddamn thing you can learn from it. There's nothing to take away from it, other than shit can happen sometimes. Now, don't get me wrong. The things we can prevent, oh fuck, I'm hyper vigilant, like you wouldn't believe. Absolutely. I'm on the lookout all the time. But I also know I can't be everywhere at once. I can't see everything at once. And I certainly can't do everything at once. As much as that's difficult to accept, it's the truth. And again, not every goddamn bad thing is a learning opportunity. I don't know why, especially us who are keeners, high achievers, and now struggling with post-traumatic stress, really cannot accept the idea that something shitty wasn't a learning opportunity. We look at everything shitty like it was a learning opportunity. Assess, reassess, assess again, debrief. How the fuck have we prevented that? It's a learning opportunity. A lot of things in life are, but a lot of things in life are not as well. That's something I'm continuing to work on accepting, and it's something that I challenge you with as well. Not everything is meant for you to have learned something. Sometimes it just fucking happens. The only thing I ask of you is to try to find some peace amongst that chaos. There's a bunch of shit you can do nothing about right now, so give yourself some space. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient. Be there for you. Let's take a quick break. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you have experience with post-traumatic stress and would like to join me for an episode, please reach out to me. You can contact me via direct message on Instagram, PTSD_podcast, or you can send me an email at papatangosierradelta@gmail.com. Cheers. We are back from the break. Thank you once again for staying tuned to the Papa Tango Sierra Delta podcast. This is part 2 of the conversation with Patrick Gordon. Just a review from the last episode. And if you haven't heard the last episode, get your shit together. We ended off that episode with Patrick telling us about his tours, his deployments in Afghanistan, that while he was back home, he got a girl pregnant, he was moved to Gagetown, he took paternity leave, and then things started to implode. Patrick, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Great to be here.
Continue your story, man. I'm going to stay the hell out of your way, brother.
Roger that. I got posted to Gagetown. And like I said, that's when shit started falling apart. You don't realize the support that you have within the confines of the unit itself. These men and women that you every single day in like the military, it's not like any other monster out there. It's incredible the bonds that you can make with men and women. You have to think that you could give your life for the person to the left and to the right of you. You know, and then when you do some deployments together and you spend a fair amount of time with each other, you become a family. And I lost that. I lost it during a time where I needed it most and I didn't realize it. I got posted to the school in a new position, in a new job, in a new world. I had gotten my girlfriend pregnant. The world I come from was got to put a ring on it.
Yeah.
So it was like, I got to marry her. Like it's happening and it needs to happen now. And to me, it was like, I got to take responsibility for who I am and what is happening around me. And I need to be able to provide for that human. So I came home and we looked for a place to live. My wife now, at the time, she was a nursing student and she had a whole shitload of trauma of her own that I didn't even realize. That being said, I come home and, I marry her. My son's born. I go on paternity leave. And the only coping mechanisms that I have are physical fitness, because I was a fat kid and I was scared of ever being that person again. And 2 was alcohol. Up until now, I was using alcohol for a lot of things in my life that I didn't realize I was using them for. I thought I was just having good times, and I just like to have a really good time. I was known for being that guy. They're like, holy fuck, wait till you see what Gordy's up to when he's drinking. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was the guy people were talking about on Monday morning about the crazy shit that I would get into because they thought I was just an animal. But no, I was actually super insecure and suffering. It's almost a form of suicide, man, really, when you're living so recklessly.
It's pretty deep, but yeah, I agree with you. 100%. I'm with you. Yeah, I think it is.
Try to kill yourself without killing yourself.
You just don't realize you're doing it, but you're doing it.
Literally, man, we'd be driving down the road on a highway and designated driver, and I'd get out of the car on a highway, roll down the window and start skiing on the highway, put my feet on the pavement, be like, woo! Like if I hit a bump, like, oh, dead. I didn't care.
Yep.
Stupid shit like that I was known for doing, right? So I go on maternity leave, man, and now I'm dealing with all these fucking things in my life that I didn't have before. I'm now a provider. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I have a house. And not only did I have a house, I bought my house in St. John, New Brunswick, and I commuted every day to the base because I felt like my wife was a student and, my family and her family lived in St. John, that we would be able to get the support we needed. And I could go do my army shit and she'd be a student and still have everything we needed. It actually was quite the opposite. We didn't have any support because her family didn't even understand how to support me and her. Neither did my family. So I started realizing things were falling apart. I started gaining weight. I was drinking all the time. I wasn't being as active as I should have been. I was very irritable all the fucking time. Like I would flip out in an instant, man. And I couldn't even control it. I thought it was just who I was as a soldier. And I had this, like, people were looking at me like, oh, I was good at jacking people up. And I was that fucking drill sergeant. But in actuality, I was just irritable all the fucking time.
Yep.
Man, I smashed a computer at work. Nobody did anything. We would have mess dinners. I was a sergeant. And I shit you not, I stood up and if anybody knows about mess dinners and their senior NCOs, I shushed the base RSM in the middle of his speech. I stood up and was like, shush!
Oh.
And I gave my speech. Sergeant Gordon of the Armoured School. What the fuck? And I didn't even get so much of as an extra.
Wow.
It was almost like they were like, all right, just let him go. Who are we to disrupt this man as he's destroying himself? I was wild, man. So you know what that did for me? That didn't fucking help me. I was like, oh, I can act this way and have zero repercussions.
Yep. I mean, that's exactly what I would fucking take from it is I don't know, I'm being complimented for this. Like, this is what people want from me.
Yeah. I guess this is my place in the world, right?
Yeah.
As I'm struggling just to find a place, as I'm suffering at this point, I didn't know, with post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, traumatic brain injury, and I have ADHD. So you're like, what the fuck is going on in my mind?
Yeah, exactly. You would be big time wondering what the fuck is going on in your mind.
Yeah. And I just kept drinking. And it was the only thing that would shut the noise off in my mind and make me feel at peace for a period. But I couldn't control the drinking. So it would drink to the point where, and then I was socially awkward and socially anxious. So I would drink to a point where I'd black out and piss myself because I just couldn't handle being social because I was so fucking anxious.
Yeah.
Anyway, this type of behavior continued on with no repercussions. And then I was taking it into my personal life, going to my buddy's house. All the guys I hung out with were either military or police or fire, first responders. Right? Because these are the guys that we have shit in common with.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You're talking to your buddy who fucking never left St. John, works at the call center. It's hard, right? It's hard to relate. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yep.
So I started fucking falling apart, buddy, on an epic scale, man. I'm drinking all the fucking time. So then what happens is I'm in the training area. At this point, I'm pretty heavy because I'm drinking all the time. I'm not as fit as I used to be. I'm in a bit of a depression. I hate my job because I don't like being at the school. I miss the unit. I miss my friends. I miss my family. I don't know how to be a dad because I never really had a fucking functioning one. I don't really know how to be a husband because nobody ever taught me how to treat a woman properly. So I'm failing everything on all fucking levels. And I'm in the training area and I'm just like, fucking my cake, just keep this going. And I think I'm either teaching on a commander's course or driver's course. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm in a lab and the driver hits a bump and it jacks my neck forward. And all of a sudden my whole right arm, and I'm in excruciating nerve burning pain. Like, what the fuck is happening? So I get sent in and I go to the hospital and get an MRI. They're like, when did you break your neck? I was like, I didn't know I broke it. And they're like, yeah, your neck's broken and it healed. It happened a little while ago. It healed. And then the heel created what is called an osteophycus, which is basically bone growth. And that bone growth now is touching a nerve. And when you jacked your neck forward with that super heavy helmet on, it shifted everything. And I was like, oh, wow. And then that's when I found out how bad my back, every day I was like, holy fuck, my back hurts. What is going on? You know what I mean? Like, but you just kept soldiering, right? I kind of figured it was the gear and the fact that I'd put on some weight and I'm not as healthy and now I'm this dad. And I'm not the fighting fucking Spartan I thought I was before. And I'm like, holy fuck, I'm falling apart.
Yeah.
So when I go to get my neck checked, I shit you not, I go, this is a great opportunity for me to get my head checked too.
I like
because nobody will question it.
Yep. I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fucking smart.
Right? So I'm like, all right. So I tell them all this shit that's not doing well with me, my experiences. And they're like, oh yeah, it sounds like PTSD to me. Right. And you had a couple of veterans on here and they know as well as I do, man, back in early days of Afghanistan, you even said that you were going home.
Gonzo.
You were fucking done. Your career was over. You're terrified. You were terrified to say anything. You're terrified of judgment. You were terrified because I created this world where I was this hard, fucking battle-tested individual at this school. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just...
Absolutely. 100%.
I felt like I couldn't be vulnerable. I felt like I couldn't tell the truth to these men because they weren't there. They didn't go through this experiences with me. All my brothers and sisters that did were back in Alberta. So I was falling apart and I didn't feel like I could even connect to anybody. So they tell me about my neck and I started doing physio and I believe that not only did the injury itself get worse, but also knowing about the injuries made it worse too because of the psychological side of it. Knowing that I had a bad back before was like, okay, I know I have a bad back, but I didn't know it was bad. I thought I was just hurting. Yep. Now when they put the diagnosis with it, then your mind does something else with it. And you're like, oh my God. So I'm falling apart, trying to get physio, works like, what's going on? Are you getting better? I'm parking my truck at the hospital, walking over to mental health to get treatment so they don't know that I'm at mental health. Hiding on different parts of the base, not wanting to go to work, trying to figure out excuses. And at this point, I'm a sergeant, so there's not too many people asking where you're at. If you can duck away or go hide in a corner or do something, or just sit in your truck and put music on. And I would sit there and cry, man. I would bawl my fucking eyes out. I don't even know why I was crying. But I was like, this isn't right. This isn't Pat Gordon. This isn't who I was. Where did I go?
Yeah.
What happened to me?
Yeah.
And I just, oh man, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't pretend anymore. And I was going to kill myself, man. That was my contingency plan. I was just like, I don't want to feel this fucking pain anymore. So every day you'd have those conversations with yourself. Not today, not today. Let's just get through today. Let's just get home and have a beer. Let's just get home and have a drink and turn it all off.
Yep.
I got posted to school in 2012, and I got medically discharged in 2016, October. I did 12 years and 10 months in the Canadian Armed Forces. I lost what I thought at the time was the most important thing in my life. I loved being a soldier. I loved putting a uniform on. I loved wearing the Canadian flag on my shoulder. It gave me more than purpose in this world. And I know it did that for so many other people. But unfortunately, it became more of an unhealthy thing for me than a positive thing by the end of it. Unfortunately, it became more of a negative thing and a hindrance than a positive. When I left the Canadian Armed Forces, nobody could tell me when I was going to get paid. Nobody could tell me how much I was going to get paid outside of my pension, outside of what I was going to get for a pension. Veterans Affairs was a nightmare to navigate through. And then they also have another organization called Manulife, which is a fucking nightmare to deal with because they're an insurance company and they don't give a fuck about you as an individual. It's about the bottom dollar because VA or the government gives them X dollars to work with. And if they can save X amount of dollars within that budget, they get to keep the rest.
That's fucking brutal.
So,
that's fucking brutal, right?
That's fucking brutal, bud. So I didn't do well with those fucking pricks. It just felt like it was a continuous fight for everything, man. It was like I signed up to fight for this country. I did what you guys asked of me. Now you're telling me I'm not fit to do the job anymore, but you're going to take care of me in some capacity or another. Well, what is it? Nobody can tell me, man. I left the forces in October, and it was about 6 months before I got a paycheck.
So you have 6 months with a wife and a child and no financial stability.
No, she was a student. I had a couple buddies of mine that got released before, and I knew that there was a period where you're going to go without money. And I was told to save between $15,000 and $20,000.
Jesus Christ.
To try to squirrel that away. Yeah, I know, right? How the fuck do you squirrel away $15,000 to $20,000? Thankfully, I was in between one of the times when the Veterans Affairs had changed their procedures on went from being able to put in a claim and they, you get a pension for life versus we're giving you a payout, which I'll tell you is fucking stupid because I got the max payout, which when I got it was $360,000, and I burned it like a fucking NBA draft pick because I was so unhealthy.
Yeah, that's the last thing you needed, right?
Yeah, I didn't need a bunch of money, man. I'd spend it all on beer and fucking trucks. I bought a new vehicle every year.
Yeah.
And because I was searching for happiness. And, you get a new vehicle, I feel great. Or I go buy a trailer, or you know what I mean? Or go on a trip to Mexico. Not, I could have my mortgage paid for. I could be saving for my son's college tuition. No, because you don't think that far in the future because you're so fucking sick. So I burned it, man. But thankfully I saved a little bit because I knew this was coming, but I didn't have a lot at this time. I had enough just barely to get me to where my pay kicked in. But my contingency plan was to take my life so that my family would have stability, that I would be the one to sacrifice so that they would be okay. And I was okay with that because as a man, that's what I felt my place was in the world, to wear it. That's your job. I fell that year, 2016. I fell so fucking hard. I ballooned up to about 300 pounds. I was drinking every day. I was drinking to sleep. And we know that doesn't work. Yeah, it helps you fall asleep, but you don't actually stay asleep. Your quality of sleep is fucking garbage.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I didn't know anything else. I didn't want to take any medication because the medication they had given me this far had already made, I was 300 pounds. I could barely tie my boots because my gut was so big. And I'd be sweating like I just got out of the shower from this medication that they had me on. But I still have it, Larry. I have a bag, a Ziploc bag, like a fucking freezer bag filled with this shit in my cupboard, and I keep it. And I just look at it every now and then. I pull it out. I just stare at it because I'm like, this is what they gave you. This is what they said health was. This is what they said recovery was.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it didn't do anything but make me worse. So that year, 2016, I fell further and further and further into the darkness. I kept hand grenading my own life, that self-destructive fucking way. I couldn't do anything that was positive. I would get out of bed first thing in the morning and be fucking angry at my wife and my kids for no reason. I hated myself. I hated who I'd become. Couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. 2017, September. We went out drinking. And at this time, I got turned on to cannabis and I started using cannabis. My friend, who was a Toronto police officer and I served with in the military, he's like, go get some cannabis. Doesn't matter how you get it, go get it. Start using it. It's going to help. He had PTSD. He served in Op Medusa. And I mean, being a police officer in Toronto, and fucking probably isn't. He's like, I don't know if I got PTSD from this or that. One of the two. It's fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, Roger that. So he's like, and I trust this man. He's like, it's helping me sleep, man. Go get some. So then I feel like a fucking criminal trying to score marijuana on the streets. I'm getting my buddies to go get it. Like, I don't feel good about it at all because I'm the type of person that I was bought in on the military, man. I was bought in on the idea that we don't do that stuff. We're not allowed to. I was a company man. Now you need to use this to help you. So I was very, very torn with my own, ethics, but it was working. It was helping. So I started using cannabis, and then I got a doctor, Paul Smith, here in New Brunswick, got me prescribed. And he's like, you got to get as much of it in you as you possibly can. And I'm like, holy shit. Are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like, there's a period where your body will load it and then it becomes not recreational, it becomes medicinal, and you'll feel the difference. You'll process it completely different. But there's cannabis receptors inside of your body that need to be filled up. And I'm like, okay, you're a doctor, let's do this. So I'm blasted for the first few months in the beginning of 2017 all the time. And I'm like, I don't like this feeling. I'm fucking high all the time. And then, no joke, probably June 2017, I felt the switch. I felt the switch where all of a sudden the cannabis wasn't fucking me up anymore. It was like, holy shit, now it's making me feel like a human. Like I actually feel good. I'm not super duper high, I'm functional. But the problem was I couldn't mix it with alcohol. Every time I would mix alcohol and cannabis, I'd black out. And listen, man, you probably feel the exact same way. That level of vulnerability, no
fucking way. No.
No. Not being able to control myself or waking up and not remembering, like, no. I don't like that at all.
Mm-mm.
No. So I was like, so September 2017, we went out for my wife's birthday and I got drunk and using cannabis. I don't even remember coming home. She said, Ted, take me home. And I was like, I'm done. I'm fucking done. And I wanted to be sober so many years before this, man. Holy fuck. I battled with the idea of sobriety my entire life because my father was an alcoholic and he was now in the grave because both of his brothers were alcoholics. My brother is an alcoholic. My uncle passed away, alcohol. Everybody around me, all the men, the males were in some way or another affected by alcohol. And I was like, holy fuck, this is going to be my son. All I'm doing is creating the exact world that I was trying to get out of.
Jesus, that's deep.
I'm failing my wife. I'm failing my son. I'm failing fucking everybody. And I was like, I'm done. I am fucking done. And I quit drinking. At that point, it was September 30th, 2017. When I decided that I wanted to be sober, man, that was a fucking journey in its own. But I wanted it this time. I really wanted it. The first year of sobriety, I'd fallen off probably 6 times because I didn't even understand how to be sober in certain situations. My first test was Remembrance Day. I had no idea how to fucking honor my brothers and sisters in a way in which it wasn't alcohol. So I had a few beers. I didn't get hammered, but I had a few beers. Then it was Christmas. Didn't know how to get through Christmas and New Year's. And then it was my wife and I booked a trip to Dominican. How do I go away with my wife and not drink? And God bless my wife's soul, man. The moment I said I'm sober, she's like, I'm with you. And she only drank when I said I was going to drink, which was wild because I don't think that we would have been able to make it through it. And then we went to Disneyland with the family and I had no idea how to get through that. This fucking park with tons of people and the anxiety and there's just, oh my God. So I decided that I was going to drink. I decided that I was going to get a bottle of Tito's vodka, put it in water bottles, and then put them in a cup and meal and water and just sip through the park to just keep me from fucking freaking out. So then I'm talking to myself and I'm like, Pat, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself every fucking day. You're never going to be who you want to be, who your son needs you to be if you don't just clean your shit up. Take responsibility. June comes around. My close friend, Roger, he's headed to Mali. He's deploying as a door gunner. I'm going to Alberta to see him before he leaves. While I'm out there, I'm going hiking with some friends. And I'm having a beer with my friend Raji because he could die. And I don't know how to love him sober. So I go on this hike with my friend Brian and his other friend who's a civilian. Brian was an infantier. And the guy that was with us was actually a recovering addict. And he was a full-blown alcoholic, full-blown drug addict. And at this time, he was completely sober, clean, got away from it all, and turned his fucking life around. Like this guy had just sorted it all out. And he's listening to me talk. You know what I mean? He's listening to Pat Gordon talk about how I have control of my drinking, how I'm not going to let alcohol fucking own me, how I get to have a beer with my buddy while I'm here. And this guy's just like, yeah, okay, shaking his head. Yeah, roger that. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. And he didn't push the recovery on me. He didn't tell me how fucking stupid I was for the way I was talking. He didn't say that you're going to fail. He just, he's like, all right, Pat, I understand that. I did all the same stuff you did too, brother. Just think about this for a second. If you're going to sleep with a snake in your bed, how long do you think that snake's going to hang out in there before it bites you? I was like, why would I ever want to sleep with a snake on my bed, man? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it. I didn't end up having a beer with my friend on that trip. And I took that home with me. From that point on, I never had a drop of alcohol again. I owned my sobriety. I owned my decision as a man, as an individual. And I decided that I will be the best version of Pat Gordon I can possibly be from this day forward. Now, what that looks like, I have no idea. But I know that every day I wake up, I'm going to try to be better than I was yesterday. And I'm going to prepare for tomorrow.
That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing.
When I decided that I was going to take this journey, it was kind of funny. A friend of mine was like, hey, man, why don't you apply for the Warrior Games or Invictus Games or get involved with Soldier On? I was like, all right, maybe I'll give it a try. So I applied for Invictus in the Warrior Games and I got accepted. And as an athlete for the 2019 Warrior Games that were going to be held in Tampa Bay. So I was like, holy shit, this is amazing, man. Like, I get to put the flag on my shoulder again. So I start training. And I go to my first training camp, and then I find out that there's the athlete called the Ultimate Champion, and he gets to compete in every event, accumulate points, and then be ranked the Ultimate Champion. And then fucking Pat Gordon doesn't shy away from some a good competition. So I was like, I want that. I want to be the Ultimate Champion. And I got it. They chose me, and I got to compete in 8 different events. One of those events was bench press. We got to Tampa Bay, day 2. I trained my ass off. I get there, I'm feeling great. Man, I'm crushing it. Day 2, the morning was archery. I'm slinging arrows. My shoulder's not feeling the greatest. They tape me up. Afternoon, bench press. 3 lifts you get. Do 1, 2. I'm like, all right, I'm going in for 3. 315. I'm going to try to go all out. Go in and lift. My left fucking back tears in half.
Jesus.
The spotters didn't do their job. They dropped the weight on me, so I get taken out of the competition instantly. I didn't know what happened to me, but I knew I couldn't use my arm, and it was like, this feels really weird. Didn't hurt as bad as one would think. It just felt really strange. So they took me to the hospital, or I got an MRI, and the next morning I'm sitting in a room with fucking bunch of jerseys on the wall, like a sports surgeon. He holds his pinky finger up. He goes, it's holding on. He's like, we're not going to do surgery. We'll let her just heal. So I was like, get me back to the competition. So I go back and I fight with my fucking coaching staff. Tell the doctor I'm basically going to fight him if he doesn't let me fucking compete. They take me up and I go and I finish the competition with 1 arm. And I'm like, man, there's guys here with no fucking legs, no arms, covered in burns. I'm not like, no, this isn't a time for me to go, whoa, me, right? This is a time to fucking turn it on. This is why we're here. Let's do this, right? So I did it. Anyway, they were like, oh, we love what you do and we would like you to an opportunity to compete again in the future. Obviously, because your games got cut short. I was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So we go home. I'm in a bit of a depression because I'm fucking injured on the couch again. But I'm like, again, hey, this is fucking just another hill that we got to climb. Let's get climbing. I start fucking sorting myself out, start rehabbing, start getting back in where I wanted to be. This is 2020, the beginning of it. Didn't we got hit with a pandemic. Yeah, we got hit with a fucking pandemic. And I was just like, oh my goodness. I'm in this place where I'm sober. I competed for my country. I'm feeling good. I come back. I got pushed so far outside my comfort zone during that competition. Like I had no other choice other than to grow. I'm feeling like I want to do something, but I don't know what it is. I know I want to maybe work with vets, try to inspire people. We get hit with this pandemic. You lived through it, man. Over the first 6 months, I was kind of like, And then after that, I was like, okay, this doesn't feel right. I started getting real negative. I needed to take my fucking mind away from it because it was just too much. One of the times when one of the gyms were open, I was having a conversation with a girl who was a guidance counselor at one of the schools in our inner city. And if anybody knows St. John, it has the highest child poverty rate in Canada. And I wasn't aware of this. I knew we had some serious issues with poverty. I didn't know it was as bad as it had gotten. I come home and I'm extremely disconnected from my community because I was just a fucking PTSD monster and a fucking alcoholic. So I'm not engaged in the community at all. So she starts telling me this, and I'm like, holy fuck, well, what can I do? She's like, well, we buy a lot of food and granola bars, and we set it in bowls and stuff for the kids. And I'm like, well, fuck, can I do something? She's like, I don't know, bring some food. So I have this idea, man, to kind of help out. And I don't even know how to help out, man. I'll tell you, trying to help, you don't even know where to start. So I'm like, one of my buddies who I grew up with, he became a pastor. I see him at Second Cup in the drive-thru. He's 2 cars ahead of me. We're during a lockdown. He pulls into a parking lot. I pulled right beside him. I'm like, hey, buddy. We start shooting the shit. I was like, hey, I got an idea, and I want to bounce it off you. I tell him the idea about wanting to put some food in some bags and bring them into the cities, into the rough schools. He's like, man, let's go to my church. We're running a home church right now. We got some people that would love to hear this idea. So I go to his home church, and I'm a Christian, but during my time in Afghanistan, I lost my faith. I lost it, and I didn't even know how to get it back. I didn't want to say I was an atheist, but I was pretty agnostic at this point.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, come to my church. I'm like, okay. So I get in there and I see all these people, and they're amazing. And I'm loving what's being pushed. So it kind of sparked another journey for myself in that area as well, where I was like, okay, maybe I should come and check this out every now and then. And I tell the idea to them, and they're like, okay, we got some money from some people. We got a bunch of groceries. We put them in some bags. We said, all right, let's do 50 families. Let's try to make enough food in each bag that's actually worth giving them. It's sustainable for them for a certain amount of time. And I call the school. I'm like, hey, we want to bring this food in and drop it off. Could you use it? They're like, yes. So I borrow one of my buddies' closed-in trailer. We put 50 bags of food in and we drive it in. We drop it off at school. We put it on the internet, and it fucking blows up. And before you know, we had enough money to do another month and another month. And Larry, I felt so good. My cup was getting filled. I had a purpose. I was putting my energy into something that was greater than myself. And
Ultimately,
it sparked a fire.
Yeah, you're serving
I'm
again,
serving.
right?
Yes,
You're
I'm
serving.
serving again. I'm serving my community. And I had no idea that this was a piece that I was missing in my recovery. I didn't realize that I needed to stop and go, hey, man, humans do their greatest work when they're in a community of other humans. Yeah. And I'm acting, and like a lot of guys act when they become broken, they reside into themselves and they sit in their basements or in their garages and nobody understands me. I'm all by myself in this. And that's the exact opposite. Because the moment I let everybody in is the moment I started to fucking heal in a way that I never thought possible.
Wow, that's fucking deep, dude, but fuck.
Man, I'm telling you, it was amazing. So a few months go by, a wonderful woman that I went to high school with, she knew who I was back then. She knew who I was now. She knew that she wanted to invest in it, and she became very successful in her personal life. So she said, go get a lawyer, structure this, and make it a not-for-profit, make it a charity, make it a company. And we need this to happen. We need it to happen on a bigger scale. And it just kept rolling. So I thought, hey, what do I call this thing? I'm a soldier, and I instantly thought of Operation Enduring Freedom because that was the first one I was on when I took the tanks to Afghanistan. So I'm like, okay, well, this is an operation. And what are we doing? We're feeding people, and we're in St. John. So this is Operation Feed St. John. Roger that. We ran with it. It felt good. Now I'm conducting operations. I'm bringing a little piece of the world that I love so much into who I am now.
That's amazing, man. That's fucking absolutely amazing. We're going to take a quick break, and after, we're going to hear all about Operation Feed St. John.
This episode of the Papa Tango Sierra Delta podcast is brought to you thanks to the support and financial sponsorship of Cracked Armor. Go to crackedarmor.com, read the story, buy the gear, wear it, to send a message to others who are struggling that they're not alone.
Also, check out Willow Tree Farm, care of Jason Subkowicz, another member who is struggling with PTSD and who frequently updates his Instagram to share his story. You can follow him at jason.subkowicz. That's jason.Sierra Oscar Bravo Kilo Oscar Whiskey India Charlie Zulu.
We are back from the break once again with Patrick Gordon, and we are just going to learn the damn motherfucking cherry on the top of this when Operation Feed St. John starts rolling. Give us the goods, brother.
So Operation Feed St. John was born in the middle of the pandemic during a time when people were lost with a lot of uncertainty. I felt like the experiences that I had in being in combat and having fought the enemy and having my life almost taken from me on multiple occasions, I wasn't scared to get out into the community during this time and actually help the community because I felt like it was a necessary risk to be able to help the people in our community that are suffering right now. before I started it, she was saying about how she felt the lockdowns were so counterproductive for so many of these kids in our city, because a lot of the kids in St. John rely on the school not for just education, but for just everyday human decency and interaction and so much more, right? Because unfortunately, a lot of them come from generational poverty and trauma and stuff of that nature. So I really felt compelled to do something about this. It started rolling and it started going, and month after month, we're doing 50 families, and it started growing. And I'm like, holy shit, man, I want other vets to feel the way I feel. So I started recruiting guys and bringing them in. And I decided that I was like, well, we need a uniform. You know, what are we missing here? What do guys really enjoy about the service? What would help attract some more veterans? So I figured I would get a uniform on the go. And I went to Mark's Warehouse, and at the time they had a pretty cool camo workwear. And I snatched a bunch of that stuff up and I put our logos on it. And, you know, part of what I thought would be really good is that the kids could see this, right? These kids in the communities that are really, really hit hard with poverty then could see these men and women that have fought for their country come in, and, you know, we wear pink shirts with camo, and we could put that spin on, hey, people look at us like we're rough and tough, but we're here wearing pink shirts giving food, so that they didn't think that they had to be that tough. You know what I mean? Like the world that we came from.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't feel like you could show some vulnerability. So we decided that that's kind of where we wanted to go with it. And then I realized that everybody's putting my service on a pedestal. Everybody wants to pat Gordon and military veterans on the back, because I got on a plane and I went overseas and I came home. And I'm realizing in my community that so many other heroes are fucking falling apart. And the reason I'm realizing this, Larry, is because you know as well as I do, once you see it in yourself, holy fuck, you can see it in anybody else.
Absolutely. Like highlighted words on a piece of paper, man. We just came back from a show this weekend and we were looking down the aisles and we were just kind of going, you're good. You're good. Oh, you're broken. And it's almost just like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. You can see it plain as day. And I realized a lot of my friends that I grew up with in St. John, it was either one half went to be drug dealers and didn't make it out, or the other half became law enforcement, military, you know, first responders. So a lot of my friends are police officers. And back when I was drinking, I didn't see it because I was in it with them. But then when I stepped away and I got sober and I got healthy and I seen a lot of them doing the same shit, I'm like, they're falling apart and nobody's helping them. Like a police officer, but he gets, in my area, I think it's something like 6 sessions. And then in order for them to get more, they have to go ask. That right there alone will deter a human from just continuing on. And
Absolutely.
6 sessions doesn't even scratch the fucking surface.
Oh, you're just starting to build trust at that point.
Yeah. And then I found out paramedics get something like $2,500 worth. That's it.
Wow.
And then I looked at all our nurses and how our fucking politicians turned on them instantly because they weren't doing what they told them to do. Yeah. And the burnout they were receiving over COVID. I looked at our firefighters in the same thing, man. Nobody, and in my area, our council and our fucking local area people are continuously cutting the fire department. Oh, you can do that work with less people and less trucks. We don't need that. Mm-hmm. And then turn around and giving themselves raises because they feel that their place in society is much more purposeful. It's insane. So I recognized the struggle. And then I looked at organizations like the Legion. And I was like, this organization was formed for me and it's supposed to support me. Well, it opened up in the early 90s for first responders as well. And none of the first responders go to the Legion because they feel like it wasn't initially started for them and they don't feel like it's a place for them. Well, I feel the exact same way because they don't look at me like I'm a veteran because I didn't fight the Nazis. Unfortunately, I didn't have that option.
No, that was not an option.
It wasn't an option for me, though. And I answered the call, much like all my other brothers and sisters. We answered the call. I had enough of it. So when I started Operation Feed, I went to the Legion. I said, hey, guys, I have this idea, and I'm wondering if you guys would be interested in supporting it. I really feel like we could help some vets, give them purpose after service, and they didn't want any part of it. So I decided that I was going to become a competition to them because I asked them, I said, you guys have a gym? Do you have any sober Legions? Well, no, I mean, you can't make any money with that. I was like, so your sole purpose here is to make money by selling booze? Do you realize that a lot of us are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder? Yeah. You do realize that a lot of us are dealing with substance abuse? Yeah. Okay. So your motto is drinking and gambling? Yeah. All right. Good enough. Have a great day, guys. So knowing that, I decided that I'm not okay with any of this shit. So I decided that I am going to create an organization, you know, and I decided this back September this year. There's a charity in my area called 100 Women That Care, and they donate every quarter $25,000 to a local charity. And up until this, every month I was struggling to keep the charity running. It did cost me roughly $2,500. It's now around $3,500, $4,000 a month to feed 50 families because of the inflation. So I was struggling up until that point to keep the charity running every month, doing fundraiser after fundraiser. I created an online subscription, called it Operation Feed Special Forces, where you could give us a monthly donation. And then, we send you dog tags and a sticker and try to make you a part of it. I was doing everything I could to get people interested in this charity because I didn't want to fucking beg for money to help people. So I took it upon myself to be like, I'm going to create a sustainable charity because one, I don't need money because I'm compensated for my services and my injuries, and money isn't something that I even think about. So why do I want to structure something where it's about profit? So let's just take that right off the page right away. I want to create something that's going to be here 10 years from now. I want to create something that is successful and that we can reprint it in other communities across Canada. I want to create this world that supports, that gives purpose, that helps heal. And I know it does because, like I said, up until now, I'm looking at myself. I'm looking at the leaps and bounds that I'm taking in my recovery. And I have a lot of people that look at me and go, Pat, I can't understand how you are doing what you're doing in the community when I have my friend who is a vet of this, this, and this, and he can't leave his basement. It's because I've created this purpose and a camaraderie of brothers and sisters where we're working not only for a greater good, but also for each other, to support each other. So I decided I was going to create this modern style Legion that will have a gym, a peer support, a rec area. We want to put anything and everything to do with healing in it. And we wanted to make it exclusive to veterans and first responders. And we're toying with the idea between $50 and $75 a month as a membership fee. That membership fee in return is the sustainable piece for the charity. Now we're currently doing 50 families and our goal is 500 families. We want to create a environment, a community where food insecurities isn't an issue, isn't a thing, because we're not worrying about profits. We're worrying about each other.
It's amazing. Absolutely fucking amazing.
I didn't even realize that this is where I wanted to take it outside of when I got that money from the 100 Women That Care. It allowed me to take a breath. It allowed me to go, oh, okay, what are we doing now? Where are we taking this organization? What do we want? And I would have conversations with all the men and women that are involved in the organization, the vets and first responders. What do you want to see? What is missing in your life? How are you being failed? And we can create it. Sometimes it's better to just start new. Sometimes some system is so broken that you need to start all over. And I looked at the food bank in the exact same way. We're looking at our food banks and we're expecting people at the very bottom of the income ladder to go get on a bus, get in a cab, go stand outside of a building shamefully in a lineup so that the rest of the population can drive by and see them and then get a couple boxes of Kraft dinner. Well, these food banks are hoarding food because they're worried they won't have enough, so they don't give as much out. My very first donation was from a food bank. They gave me a truckload of food. And I go, how are you able to give me all this food? He goes, it's going to expire and nobody's coming to get it. So then I'm like, nobody's coming to get it. So then take it, push it, push the food out. In my world, that's what we do. We push information. So why can't we push food?
Yep.
These kids can't even worry about education because their bellies are growling. I'm sure you've been hungry in your life. It's hard as a kid.
Yep.
And you're seeing people around you, the tier systems that we've created in our society. Some can have, but some cannot. That's not okay. That's not okay for us to be living in a first world democratic country and to be facing the same problems that they are in Afghanistan. What separates us from the animals in this world? We want to go and kick in all these doors across the pond and tell them how to do their business because we pulled ourselves on a pinnacle of this modern Western society, but we're failing our own people on an epic scale.
Hallelujah. Yes, sir.
We're failing our children. We're failing our heroes. We're failing the men and women that keep us safe at night so that we can create a safe place for somebody that doesn't even know where they exist in this world. It doesn't make any sense. Our police, our fire, our ambulance, our healthcare are decimated. They're riddled with post-traumatic stress disorder, operational stress injuries, depressions, suicides, substance abuse. Nobody cares. They care when they pick up the phone to call. They care when they need a police officer. They care when they need the ambulance. They care when they go into the hospital and the wait is fucking 12 to 18 hours to get a bone set. But their everyday day to life, they don't care. If it's not touching them on that day, they don't give a fuck.
I do believe that's true, man.
It is. That has been the hardest thing that I've had to deal with since I started this charity, man, was not wanting to quit because of other people. Because I'm out here trying to help my community, trying to show people that there's a different way. We have something like 40,000 Afghanistan veterans in this country sitting around doing nothing. In my area alone, southern New Brunswick, there's something like 3,000 veterans. In the Ormukto area, close to 30. And all these men and women want is for you to care. By caring is creating something more than me being able to get a fucking place. Like I can go get cheap beer anywhere, but I can't get a cheap gym membership.
Yeah.
Right?
You're right.
And like I said earlier about the medicine, man, everybody made me believe that healing was a box with doctors and medicine. But when I got out of that box and I started pushing myself in other avenues, I started exploring other options, that's when the magic happened. That's when the healing started. And when I started living my life greater than myself, and I started allowing community, and I started creating a community.
Yeah, I love that. I started living life greater than myself. I mean, that is a statement right there.
You have to, brother. This world that we've created, this Western world where I'm going to be a self-made millionaire, I'm going to do it all my own. Listen, yeah, you want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, you bring in people that are, and support you and care about you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then that's a community. We have 11 veterans and first responders working with us right now. Since I started, I've had 2 of my members head to the Atlantic Trauma Healing Center, and one's back and one should be back next week. We're winning. We're winning. If I could just get people to buy into the idea and help us fund it and help us create it, we want to put one in every community across Canada. We want to put an Operation Feed in Newfoundland, in PEI, in Nova Scotia, Ontario, Quebec. We want to do it across the country because, like I said, there's poverty in every community, and there's vets and emergency workers that need purpose.
That's fucking amazing. And I cannot possibly agree with you more, because these people you're speaking about in terms of veterans and first responders, I mean, that was their life, was to serve. And when they're no longer doing that, be it they've naturally retired, or which I find even more difficult because you're generally very young when they medically retire, have lots of good work years left, they're there. They're wanting to do something. And there's a fucking remarkable nexus that you're making, that you're wanting this to spread and take off, and it's needed.
Well, and the thing is, too, Larry, is that it's not mine. I might be the guy who got the message, but it's not mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm structuring it in such a way that it will not be mine, that nobody will ever be able to make money off of this, Larry. This is about a community organization that is to be a hub for our veterans and our first responders. I mean, you were a police officer. Like when you got off a terrible shift, you just like a real shitty shift. And now you're going from point A to point B. You're going from shift to home. You're going from shift to husband, shift to dad, shift to personal life. Why don't we have a place where you can pull into, get a cup of coffee, get a workout, have a conversation with some like-minded individuals, bring yourself back down to neutral, then go be a dad, then go be a husband.
It's difficult, brother. It's fucking difficult. Like, that's reality, and you're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, I particularly recall I'm not going to get into the fucking details, but a very traumatic, fatal motor vehicle collision that involved a few people, and they were in pieces. And once that scene was dealt with and cleaned up, I went home and I immediately had to be a dad and a husband. And there is no in between. That was just my life. I look back now and go, how the fuck did I do that? Well, I mean, I guess I faked it, because a lot of times I just mentally wasn't there. I was somewhere else. I was trying to fucking hide from that shit. Yeah.
Checked right out.
Yep, exactly.
Not even know how to deal with it.
Or boost. I mean, because I look at what I consume even a few months ago compared to what I consumed before joining the outfit, completely fucking different. Totally remarkably, like exponentially different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, but the thing about it too, as a nurse too, right? Or as a paramedic.
Absolutely.
Or as a firefighter.
Yep.
Right? Nobody's thinking about what their shift was like, and now they're going home. And that's where, and then for the most part, people keep it together on shift. But then when they go home, there's nobody there to watch. And that's when they just come completely unfucking zipped of, whatever they're dealing with, man. And I'm not okay with it. And I'm very aware of it. So in saying that, if we can create this establishment, man, we also, we want to make it a one-stop shop as well. I already have healthcare professionals lined up massage therapists, psychotherapists, physiotherapists, osteopaths that want to work with vets and first responders. Like they want to work with people that have used their bodies, that have seen shit and they have to figure it out. We're not average everyday people, right? So that makes it appealing for healthcare professionals that actually like to do their job, be a part of it. So the want is there on so many levels. I'm just having a really hard time trying to find somebody that wants to invest in it, that wants to believe in it. Because again, I was told on multiple occasions that I had structured this for profit. I would have the building already. I'd have probably working on number 2.
Yep. I believe that 100%. Yeah, of course.
And that's the sad thing though, man, when you're trying to create something that's beautiful and that's good and that will be able to support and help the communities. I can't see why we can't get people to buy into the idea. Anytime I tell a first responder about it, they're like, well, how do we make this happen?
Absolutely. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I'm trying. I'm on a podcast talking about it right now.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So that said then, Patrick, okay, here's the deal is what can people do? I mean, right now you're trying to set this up in St. John, New Brunswick. And let's say there's someone right now in the Ontario area that is going, we need this here. Can they reach out to you? Can they start making that connection?
I've had so many people reach out to me and say, we need one here. I want to start one here. I want to do this here. And the thing is, Larry, I want that, but I don't want to go and start at number 2 until I nail down number 1 and ensure the foundation is so solid, because I don't want this to fail.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep.
I don't think we can fail. I don't think we have the option to fail because we're at a pinnacle time right now, right? I believe we're at a dawn of a new era. Yep. Where a lot of these old, like I said, the way we were doing business before isn't working. And I believe people are going to start looking to do business in other avenues. And we are that business.
Yeah. Okay. So I love that's where you're going. And I agree with you 100%. I think that's the best fucking thing to do is show the success of it in one area and that it's sustainability and demonstrate how much good it's creating. And that should be the easiest selling point to move it across. So how can,
exactly right?
Yeah. How can people get involved to help lift this off the ground in St. John? I mean, and you don't have to be from fucking St. John. I mean, there's people that can do things.
Yeah, absolutely. Across the country. When I started the company, it was Operation Feed St. John. And I realized real fast that, yeah, that's great for here in St. John. And it's great because we'll take pride in it as our own. But as we continue to expand and grow, we want to be able to make it unique to each community. So that's why I changed the operating name to Operation Feed as an overall. And our motto is to feed the bellies of the most vulnerable and to feed the mind, body, soul of vets and emergency workers. And as we continue to expand and take it to other communities, then it will become Operation Feed Newfoundland in that community, right?
Okay, I want you to repeat that, Patrick, because you just said something. Hold on a second. I want you to repeat something because you just, and I want to make sure this really gets through to people. I don't want people to be able to blow that over. The mandate is to, and you said feed the bellies and feed the mind, body, and soul. Can you please say that again?
Absolutely. Our mission at Operation Feed is to feed the bellies of the most vulnerable and to feed the mind, body, and soul of veterans and emergency workers.
That's a fucking mic drop. That's boom, right there.
Well, we're sorting out a couple problems at once in a very efficient way. And you know, military guys, bud, one thing we like to do things efficiently.
That's right.
And if anyone's listening, they can go on our website at www.ofsj.ca. They can go on our Facebook. They can check us out on Instagram, and it's about awareness. We need you to like and share everything. We need you to buy our gear, and we need you to wear it across the country. And we need you to have those conversations in places they may not be happening. We have a store, and we sell our gear, Operation Feed. It's wonderful, and it's custom to first responders. So if you're a veteran, you can go on there and you can buy it and get the thin green line for a veteran. Police officer, fire, corrections, and nurse. We got the blue, the red, the white, and the gray for those. And then 100% of the earnings that we bring in, like I said, I don't take $1 from anything, my friend. I don't even take fucking gas money. As a matter of fact, I'm losing money because I am a monthly subscriber. I pay $50 a month into my own charity.
Well, there you go. Yeah, fuck. That's a lot of belief.
I believe in it, man.
Yeah.
I believe, man. Yeah, I mean, you can't fucking sell it if you're not going to believe in it, right? So,
true.
And I'm a fucking leader, man. And in order for me to be able to lead, I need to do it from the front and I need to lead by example. And this is what I'm doing. I'm showing people that, hey, I can do it, then you can do it, right? So if we can get people to pay attention to our website, pay attention to our Facebook and our Instagram, and like I said, buy the clothing and wear it and have a chat, make a donation. And if you're somebody, you know, that has a buttload of money and wants to see this, because that's all we're looking for, Larry, is a startup cost. because I believe once I get the startup cost to be able to pay for the building, it's going to pay for itself.
Yeah.
Like we're looking, like I said, so say the membership's at $50 a month. Okay. If I get 500 members, that's $25,000 a month to be able to keep the lights on and feed the people that we need to feed. But I firmly believe that 500 is like way under where we'd be shooting, because the men and women in our community, they want this. They want a place that's exclusive for them. They want a place that's dedicated to them. And in all honesty, this is a start line. We want to create a start line for a lot of people where they can walk into and go, okay, this is where I start my journey. And it's going to start with me getting on the fucking treadmill. Or I'm going to start my journey by going to have a cup of coffee and talk to that guy right there and figure out what he's doing in his life to make it work.
That's
right?
true, man. Listen, you're hitting the nail on the head. Yeah, I mean, yes. And I can confirm that just because the time I've spent at shows the last couple of weekends with Cracked Armor is that people want to come up and talk. They want that interaction. They want to be able to speak to someone that they see as a brother or sister that's like-minded, that's been through the shit, that serves, that understands fucking everything from the phonetic fucking alphabet, the 10 codes, to just being able to fucking just curse and talk about shit, right?
Yeah.
That's the reality.
That is the reality of it, man. And why can't we give it to them?
I agree.
Well, we're doing that.
Well,
we're gonna give them what they want.
I'm gonna start right, and I mean today, when I finish recording, I will be going onto the website and I'll be buying a shirt, and so I'm gonna put that out to everyone else to go to the website, support, get a fucking shirt, get something, send in a picture, and I will be happy to push that, to share it, to call you out on the fucking podcast, to say thanks, to whatever. Go buy a shirt.
Well, I want to make sure too, Larry. So our store, the way it operates is we don't have it open all the time for the simple fact that it saves us money. So the way it works is we have a company out of Moncton called DNA Swag, an amazing local company. What he does for us is he opens our store whenever I ask him to, and he opens it for about 7 days. People go on, they pick their custom gear, they buy it. He closes the store, then he produces it and ships it out. And by doing it this way, I don't have to pay him to put the stuff on the shelf.
Makes sense, yeah.
It takes a little bit longer for you to get your gear, and you'll have to pay attention to the website as it opens and closes. But we like to do that it also makes it kind of unique as well, right? So you're like, I'm going to go get it.
Yeah,
so
okay, that's cool. So keep an eye on the fucking thing then, right? People keep an eye on the website.
Follow us. Fuck, I let people know, believe me. I'm like, hey, you got fucking 2 days. Go get your shirts.
Okay, so other than the website, where can they follow you, Patrick?
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
So what's your handle on Instagram?
Operation Feed St. John.
There you go. Pretty straightforward, man. Pretty straightforward.
You can send a donation as well at Operation Feed SJ, as in St. John, at gmail.com. You can make a donation on our website. You can sign up to be a monthly partner and help us become sustainable. Or you can just watch as the whole show unfolds and hopefully one day come visit us when we have our facility.
I love it. Patrick, before we end off, is there anything else you want to say? This is your time, brother. If there's something else you want to push out there, do it up.
I just want to say, man, if there's anybody out there listening to this and they're struggling, it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. But you need to ask yourself this one question. What are you going to do with that not okay? Are you going to wallow in it? Are you going to become a victim? Or are you going to fucking use it and become stronger and bigger and badder than you've ever been and make that commitment to be the best version of yourself every single fucking day? I love everybody out there that serves their country and their community. Thank you. And thank you for having me on this podcast, buddy. It's amazing. I absolutely love what you're doing, buddy. And you got my support and I got your 6.
Thanks, brother. I have yours as well, man. This has been an absolute pleasure. It's been a fantastic 2 episodes. You've said some words that are going to fucking resonate with me for a long time, my buddy. Resonate for a long time.
Thank you, my man.
To everyone who tuned in, thank you very much for listening to the Papa Tango Sierra Delta podcast. My name is Larry Payton. I have your 6. Please also have mine.
Don't go away. There's so much left to do, so many things I wanna say, and I sing. Don't make the change. If it rains every single day, I'll fight to blow it all away.